So Phanteks is really stepping up its game when it comes to open loops. So Phanteks is not new to water cooling, but they are doing like, I think they saw the void that was kind of left with water cooling recently, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna step up our game, and they got some pretty cool stuff. So we're gonna be doing full reviews of their kits. They have complete kits that have 95% of what you need. But they've taken a completely different approach to how they do fittings and stuff. So today's video is specifically the fittings, and we're gonna recreate a classic to see how much pressure the loop can withstand before it scheduled rapid disassembles. Today's video is brought to you by the new, really super cool JayzTwoCents melty connector shirt, you know, paying tribute to one of the best designs that's clearly ever existed. And if you don't like the Vaporwave colors, we've got our OG gray and red colors available now. So get yours by following the link in the description below. Nice. Ow, I have a thigh cramp. So like I said, we'll be doing full reviews of the kits, but they're making some changes to those. So we're waiting for those changes to happen, and then we'll talk fully about that. But I want to talk specifically about their soft, Nick, grab me one of the hard tubes also that came with their other kit. So they use big boy tubing. I mean, it's probably not impressive like when you hold it like that. But anyway, compared to like a lot of other soft tubing, these are thick wall tubes. I don't remember the exact measurement in terms of like, I think they're 3/4 inch, maybe 7/8 inch. I don't remember, but their outer diameter is 16 mil. I know it works to that. And then the inner diameter works out to about 3/8. So it's pretty thick. This is their hard tubing here. So it's a 16 millimeter outer diameter. But the reason why I have the hard tubing and the soft tubing here is part of the problem. When you go with water cooling is you have to make a choice, make a decision. Am I gonna go soft tubing or am I gonna go rigid tubing? And the problem is they take two different kinds of fittings depending on what you go with. So let's say you start with soft tubing because it is easily the most user-friendly to start with, but it's not as necessarily as pretty because you know it's always kind of got a curl to it. Even if you warm it up, it's got a bit of a curl, and it's gonna kind of just never look super clean as rigid tubing can. Because obviously as you cut and bend rigid tubing, it becomes very clean. It kind of looks like circuit traces, right? So maybe you decide later like, oh, well, I kind of wish I had gone with rigid tubing. So then you got to replace all your fittings that you purchased with rigid tubing fittings. It's because you have different kinds of barbs and clamps for soft tubing versus rigid. Phanteks saw this as an opportunity, and they're not the first company to do this, but they're the most recent company, and I really like their approach to come up with what they call their easy fit fitting. So basically it is a single fitting that works with both rigid and soft tubing. Their tubing specifically, which is off the shelf stuff. I mean, you can buy this tubing, this is just vinyl tubing. You can buy this tubing anywhere that sells tubing if it's the same diameter. And then 16 millimeter rigid, this is PMMA acrylic, is very much available. So it's not like it's some sort of custom tubing or whatever. But let me go ahead and demonstrate how this works real quick. It's pretty awesome. In fact, this is the water block right here. It works, and we'll talk all about these pieces in the review because I'll be setting up a loop and showing temperatures and all that with it. But there we go. So this is their chrome fitting. They also have black available as well. But as you can see, it's got a bit of a kind of a retention system. And if you look down inside, you can see that they're surrounded. Obviously there's O-rings down in there to seal, but then there's also this kind of like 360-degree barb tooth system, which will actually bite pretty vigorously into, not vigorously, but pretty tight into the tubing. So if you take your 16 mil, just jam it down in there, that's it. It's now fully in there. And you are not gonna be able to pull this out because the more you try and pull it, because it's a barb system, the tighter it bites onto the fitting, or the tubing. So if I try and yank this up right now, I can't. But if I just give this collar a little push down, which releases the teeth, it pops right out. It's kind of hard to see, but if you look down at it, you can see where it actually bit into the tubing. So the last time we did this, 135 PSI is what the output regulator on my small Porter cable compressor is. The loop was actually able to hold that pressure for a moment. It was actually the EK Waterblocks round tubular res thing that was acrylic into a like POM material, plastic material.
That's at 140 PSI. Oh! Ah!
And what we found actually happened right there was the soft teeth. So the acrylic is much harder material than the black plastic or the POM material, the POM. So the teeth just sort of like slipped to let it go and then went back to its position. And that res to this day is still working perfectly fine. It still seals, there's no problem, even though it blew in half. So we're gonna kind of test that today, because the other thing I wanted to show you here is the same fitting. We can take the soft tubing, and we can even use these guys if we want. We don't need them, but they include them. These are just designed to make it a little bit easier to get the tube to push down in there. It's just a little insert. The thing I don't care about this though, is it sort of reduces the diameter of the tubing once you put this in there. See? But it gives it a more rigid surface area, or more rigid end of the tube to just yoink. So check that out. And this is not going any, like I'm stretching the tube right now. You can see it stretching. That is not gonna come out. But if I simply push down the collar, it pops right out. That is neat, because now it is a single fitting solution to work with hard tubing or soft tubing. Now you might be looking at this going, yeah, but now you're stuck using their fitting in their ecosystem, because obviously, as you can see, the actual threaded diameter of the fitting is obviously much bigger than G-quarter thread, which is what standard threads are. But they do sell an adapter. If you decided you wanted to use your own fitting someday, they do sell an adapter that steps that from their size down to a G-quarter. So you would just need that versus how many components that you have, 2 per component. So reservoir, pump, radiator, blocks, right? So you would need 2 per component. But what I wanna see right now, how well will a loop with these fittings survive? It's literally gonna be the world's smallest loop. It's just, okay, so a little side note here. When I started filling it with water, it started leaking from this fitting, and I was like, wait a minute, they weren't tight. So I guess I just assumed like the CPU blocks are tight. So they just use a T-handle bar and then down inside. So you have to use your own tool for this. They don't include the tool. But these were pretty loose in the reservoir, so I guess I just assumed they were plenty tight, but they weren't. So I would recommend making sure you give everything a snug. So there we go. Now we can continue. So here is my loop that's literally nothing but a pump res combo and the CPU block. This is what I've got hooked up to my compressor here. So this is going to be pumping air into the reservoir. Now the top of the reservoir actually has a standard G-quarter thread. It's not like the normal, or their easy fit fitting, whatever threads are though. So that's the cap that came with it. Obviously I've got a 90 on here to a brass triple barb fitting. Because I don't want it to fail here, I want to test these fittings here. So I got clamps on there, but everything else is pretty tight. Once I got those fittings tightened down, the leak stopped as expected. So that's good. But so far, it lives up to the name as being easy fit, because they are the easiest fittings that I've ever had to put in there. Anyone that's ever done water cooling and has twisted fitting after fitting after fitting, your skin on your fingers will absolutely appreciate it. Also too, fun fact, the pump wouldn't turn on, or at least our splitter device here to a SATA, because it requires both the 4-pin PWM signal and SATA power, wouldn't work unless we plugged a fan into it. So whatever, sure, it works now. So I don't even need this on anymore. I wanted to fill the loop. So I guess we should put the power supply away. That way if it does explode, at least we're not taking a power supply out with it. And I probably shouldn't do it in this room, but part of me thinks for the risk factor, doing it in this room might make it that much more entertaining. There's 3 of us here. I guess we can make a vote. This room or not this room, Phil? No one's gonna get blamed for their answer if anything gets broken.
This room. Oh, we have it on record.
Nick?
You know, let's just do this room.
Okay, I guess my vote doesn't matter at this point. All right, so we have the components separated. This is my 150 PSI, but really we only get about 135 out of the regulator because it's a cheap thing. The irony that I went through all the effort of having the plumbing through the walls and stuff, but I haven't got my main compressor plumbed in yet, so I have to use this little guy. Which is kind of nice though, because I have the inline regulator that I can use. The other regulator would be on the wall. But we care about safety around here. So because there is the opportunity for bursting, gotta protect the eyes. Because this is gonna be right next to my head, I'm gonna protect the ears. That's not right. And then I gotta protect the insurance. There we go. So, is it gonna explode or is it going to,
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, where do you think it's gonna explode? The easy fits or somewhere else, like in this rig?
I'd probably say somewhere on the reservoir.
My heart rate is currently, and it's not just because I'm fat either, I work out, okay? 112 BPM. My resting heart rate's usually about 65. I just realized I am in the like nut smacking range if that pops off.
Me too.
No, it's gonna come this way, you're over there. That's why I was hoping like the tape would hold it. You know what? I'm gonna reinforce the tape real quick. There. All right. The valve. Okay. 40 PSI. $50 PSI. 60. This compressor's gonna kick on, I know it. Oh, Jesus Christ! Ah! I wasn't expecting the acrylic to break. The acrylic broke. Hold on.
Dude, I felt that brush probably.
It straight busted out the acrylic. Okay, we'll dry this mess up and then we'll evaluate where it broke. Look at this mess. Okay, this is totally unexpected.
I totally thought it was going to be a fitting that failed.
Yeah, the fittings are fine. Like nothing happened to the fittings, although we only made it to 80 PSI. Yeah, but I didn't expect the acrylic to, so this is what flew past Nick's head. I don't know if Phil in the replay is gonna be able to show it or not, but like a perfectly, so I'm not gonna get that back out now. I'm gonna need the suction cup. So this is actually the thinnest part of the
Just
acrylic.
add pressure again.
Oh yeah, you're right. Watch out, guys. It is legit still pressurized. Guys, watch out. I'm legit gonna pop it off.
The sound it made.
I'm gonna do that again. That was fun. Okay. The sound. Okay, so this is quite literally the thinnest part of the acrylic. Get the calipers. I want to measure this real quick. Okay, this I do not think poorly reflects on Phanteks in any way because your loop does not generate this kind of pressure, even when it gets hot, like at all. So I guess they can take this and do with this info that they want. I mean,
New armored reservoir.
none of us were expecting this to happen. Because look how thick everything else is on this. Like, look how thick that wall is right there. I didn't realize that the back was that thin. I'm so glad it didn't hit Nick, because it hit the Linus screwdriver so hard, it legit,
I'm in danger.
it legit sliced, right? I think where that extra crack is right there, I bet you that's where it hit.
And that's why we have iPro.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been good for the... This was way more dangerous than I thought it was gonna be honest, if you want to know the truth. So I really hope my insurance carrier does not watch. Okay, this can never be used again, so I might as well take it apart, because I'm curious now as to what the measurements are around this thing. You know, gotta investigate where it failed. But I want to reiterate, this does not, in my opinion, reflect poorly on the Phanteks reservoir, because I feel like if I did this with a GPU block too, it would also potentially explode. Because last time we did this test, we didn't do it with a regular acrylic reservoir like this that is screwed together. It was the cylinder one that threads together. All right, so if we look at the measurements on this, sucker is thick. So the walls on the side are 8 millimeters thick. Right here, it's 12 millimeters thick. On this side, 14. Around the pump, 13, but then this little guy right here, 3. So clearly, yeah, I guess clearly now we know how much this exact amount of acrylic can withstand pressure-wise. But you know what? We all thought a fitting was gonna pop off somewhere, and I was all worried about the dick slap and all that, and that's not what happened. I almost got the nick slap. The nick. Okay, well, at least I have a D5 now that I can use in something. I still love the sound of this when I... So I'm very happy now that we were wearing the iPro, at the very least. In my mind, part of me was like, I wonder if the acrylic could fail. But then I saw the thickness, and I'm like, no, there's no... God damn it. I was like, there's no way this will fail. But you can't tell by looking at the side how thin this area was. So I also did tell Phanteks, like, hey, I'm gonna make a video about pressurizing this. They saw the video where he blew up the EK res, and they were like, yeah, that's fine, go ahead. We're pretty confident in the fittings. We all were confident in the fittings. And then the reservoir entered the chat. So I don't know if they maybe want to consider beefing that up. I don't think it's necessarily worth a retooling. It definitely was worth the entertainment, and then it scared me. Like, the boom was actually pretty loud. Like, the sound of the boom with the headphones on. Oh, Jesus Christ! Ah! All right, guys, thanks for watching. Maybe we'll do some more science stuff. It's been a while since we've done anything dumb like this, and I think everyone could use a little bit of laughter right now, even if it means we put ourselves quite literally in legitimate danger. So, give us your best idea for a stupid experiment Nick and I can do, and I will gladly put Nick's life on the line for your entertainment.
Wait, what?